You're tuned in to Season 2 of Save That Podcast right now, and we really appreciate you being here. If you want to go back and relive Season 1, we put an album up of our favorite tracks. It's on savethat.bandcamp.com. You can go listen to that or buy that right now. Either way, we love you for it, so go do that. We got a really big announcement today as well. We're doing our first live show. It's going to be at Grow House Method in Nashville. That's happening on April 13th. And we hope that you can make or find the time to be there. It's going to be a really good time. We got Cloud Colony. We got Snake Chaney in a really rare performance. We got your boy Malaku. It's going to be an absolute party. We will serve you drinks. Aaron will tell your fortune. It's going to be a madhouse. Be there or don't. But if you're not, don't complain that you didn't make it. So check that out. We got all the information on our Instagram and our Facebook. We also want to make sure we give a shout out to our friends over at Gnarls.com. Gnarls is a music licensing platform with unlimited music for content creators, and it's sourced and recommended for your project specifically by professional music supervisors. If you're looking for new music for your next project, whether that's an album or maybe a podcast or maybe a film you're making, you can go check out their website and get a 2-week free trial. If you're an artist and you'd like to get involved, drop us a line at savethatpodcast@gmail.com. We'll make sure it gets to the right folks. We got Joey Grimaldi in studio today.
Joey Grimaldi!
Joey's an extremely talented guitarist. He hails from He hails from Brooklyn, New York. He lives in Nashville, Tennessee now. He's a session musician. He's a composer. He's a hell of a chef. He will whip you up some Alfredo. But he's also a good... Whip it up. Also a good dude and a good friend. We'll see you on the other side. You guys suck ass.
Thank you for listening to Save That Podcast. This show is intended for a mature audience. Listener discretion is advised. Stay tuned for the track at the end of the episode. Now, without further ado, let's get this shit show rolling.
Woo! Yo.
Huh.
Coming
All right.
in hot.
Nice.
What's up, guys?
Gotta set the ambiance here.
Right. You gotta let people know what it's about right off the top.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Welcome back to Save That, guys. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, Dylan, how's it going?
Hey, good. Good. Hey, Ben.
Hey.
Hey, man. Hey, man. Hey, Will.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey.
Hey, Aaron. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Joey.
Hello.
What's up, Joey?
How are you?
Good, man. How are you
Welcome.
doing?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Hey, let's all say hi to the camera because we actually have
Oh,
one
yeah,
today.
we're recording. Hey, that's weird.
Whoa.
Hopefully it keeps recording.
Did you guys remember to clap at the start of it?
I hope so.
Sick.
Sweet.
Everybody clap.
Now we got 4 of them.
We have Joey Grimaldi in studio with us today. He is a local Nashville musician, and we're super stoked to have you.
Thank you.
Straight out of Nashville. Man, we're very excited to have you. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff today. We're going to play music, and we're going to talk about things. Does that sound good to everyone?
That sounds wonderful.
I think it
Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
You sure?
Mm-hmm. That's what we usually do, right?
I think so. That's how the podcast works, right?
Yeah.
If you haven't joined us before, that's how the podcast works. So, Joey, let's see.
Yes.
I have a bunch of dumb questions written down.
Let's get right into it.
Let's get right into the dumb questions. Hey, Joey, tell the people about yourself.
Let's get down to the nitty gritty.
Well,
Yeah, who are you?
What a broad
Who is
question.
Joey Grimaldi?
Yeah, what is the
I
essence
am
of Joey?
28 years old, male. I hail from Scarsdale, New York, which is a northern suburb of New York City. And I've been living down in Nashville for about 4 years now. And I play shows live. I do studio work, and I play classical guitar. So kind of pretty much anything I can get myself into, except anything that involves singing. So I pretty much I'm a really atrocious singer.
Straight strings man here.
Yeah. So anything that's involved with the notes, harmony, melody, rhythms. Yeah, that's my jam, so to speak.
Right.
Just
on.
don't want to make them with your mouth.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
The goal is to not do that.
Yeah,
part.
exactly. I speak with the fingers.
Yeah, it's easier that way.
So did you come to Nashville specifically to get into the music scene here?
Yeah, so after I graduated college, in New York, there's, it's kind of pretty expensive to get a place there. And, sometimes it's a little too hectic. So I moved down here with my girlfriend. She's not my wife, Amy, and...
I'm sorry.
And no.
Damn it,
Jeez,
Aaron.
Aaron.
I know it's because everyone always congratulates people whenever someone mentions a wife, and I feel like I want to fulfill the other part.
Well,
I don't know what he's
hey,
feeling.
every side has to be represented.
It's
But luckily, there's nothing to apologize for in this particular case.
Absolutely. Amy's
Happy marriage.
fantastic.
That's how we
that exactly.
we linked up, right? Because Dylan's girlfriend worked with your wife.
Yes.
Yes.
Shout out Emily. Shout out Amy. We met through our significant others, and I've been lucky enough to see him play guitar a couple times. I thought he'd be perfect for this.
Nice.
Well, thank you.
So let's see. So yeah, you came down here. I think he was going to continue talking about it before Aaron made a joke about your marriage. Did you move down here for music? I know you. and I have
I
talked
mean,
about this, but-
that was the goal, and that's why we chose Nat, because it's kind of a smaller city, and my wife really likes to ride horses. She's very big in the equestrian sort of thing, and so it just seemed like a good place for us, and we've been really enjoying it. So.
And then it got expensive, and now it's almost as expensive as it is to live in New
I
York.
know. It's still not quite there yet, though.
No, yeah, I don't think it'll ever catch up to the city. But I know that hotels here are like almost
Yeah,
as
they're
expensive, which is
insane. Yeah,
fucking crazy.
Yeah.
So
All
you
those
came,
bachelorette parties, man.
Yeah, you got to capitalize.
got to take advantage of it. We're the bachelorette capital of the world.
That's why you could really do well with playing music, because
classical guitar for bachelorette parties.
I mean they really when they hear Fernando Sor
like
and
that-
Lil Bach, they really you'd be surprised how quickly the Baroque gets their pants off.
Dude, you know what would be great is if you somehow got involved in pedal taverns and you just played on the pedal tavern.
Oh yeah.
There you go, dude.
It's like the Nashville gondola ride.
Yeah.
And Joey's just playing guitar.
There we go.
Have you ever gotten caught behind one of those in traffic?
Yeah, it's the war.
Terrible, dude.
Just pedaling.
Give me another beer, Becky.
Joey, if you can get your aria chops up to your guitar playing, you can have a solid business being the pedal gondola of Nashville.
I know.
Striped shirt.
When the moon hits it up.
That's amore. That's amore. Hey,
Yeah, we're gonna actually get some music done.
Yeah,
today.
right? It's
It's gonna
great.
be good. A lot of times we end up just, talking, which is fine.
But it's a lot cooler when people
Yeah.
are down to goof around and play music with us.
Yeah.
Thanks for knocking
I
that.
kind of half talk when I play guitar, so I think they come from the same area of the mind.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, I think because if you listen to a lot of people, there's a lot of people like really good orators, people who are really good at speaking. It is almost musical.
Oh, yeah.
There's a rhythm to good speech.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
There really is.
Those two things are definitely connected. I don't know. I can't play music for shit.
But I think like the in the same way, like you're not exactly sure what the next sentence is that's going to come out, but you kind of know, you're not exactly going to say some ridiculous statement, and
It's gonna be in the same vein. You're gonna stay on subject.
exactly. And playing guitar and music really is the same way. It's like you just say a statement via the notes of the instrument.
Yeah.
And some of them work together and some of them don't. So
Exactly.
it's like a sentence.
Exactly.
The cliche that music is the universal language is a cliche for
It's
a
true.
reason.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it is a language. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. I'm
It's-
trying to learn to speak it. Shit's difficult.
Yeah, it's the language that's really hard to learn to speak, but it's really easy to understand.
I like that. I don't think I've ever heard it. That's really interesting. It is. It speaks to everybody. It's definitely everybody's got translation. They've got little earbuds. They can pick that up. But not
Did
everybody
you
can speak it.
go to school for music?
Yes, I went to Hartwick College.
Hardwick.
It's a small school in upstate New York, and I studied the classical guitar there. And I studied with a guy named Dennis Turacek, who is I'm not the most disciplined guy in the world, and he was, kind of gave me some strict sort of like, classical approach to things, and it really was, it's kind of annoying at first, but I think in the end it really was very helpful to really like get into just like the approach of what each finger is doing at all times, and really being, cognizant of like the patterns with your right hand and just efficiency.
That actually brings me to a question I was going to ask, which is finger picking styles, which is something I've struggled with in the past with playing guitar, because I've been playing since 8 but still suck balls. I use the same finger picking pattern every time, and it's just like the claw, you know? And I feel like there's other ways to utilize your right hand when you're playing guitar, or your left if you're
Left-handed.
left-handed. But yeah, I just think it's a weird thing that a lot of people don't focus on when they're playing guitar, and most people I've talked to who play guitar frequently use the claw, is what they call it. So I was just asking, like, is there any other type of right hand finger picking techniques that's utilizes like specific fingers, or
Yeah, I mean, and so your kind of basic approach is to have like let's say you're doing an arpeggio of kind of one note on each string. So this would be like a pretty basic pattern. But a lot of the time when I do it ends up being like playing like transcriptions of songs where you've got like melody, harmony, and bass. And so in that situation, what I usually do is that my ring finger ends up being kind of like the singer of the band.
okay.
So
Right.
so that was all played with my ring finger, and it's just out of necessity because that's the string that's closest to the highest part of the guitar, and then my index and middle kind of work together, so they'll either be doing chords, and usually around the D or the G string. So I try to, when I split it up, I try to always do it like, so most of the bass is going to be happening on the A and the E string, and then most of the middle section is going to be on the D and G, and then the melody on the B and the E. So all together, it's kind of...
Yeah, dude, that right there is I don't think people really I don't think people really understand that it is such an acquired skill to be able to do that, because making your finger move independently like that is so fucking difficult to do when you're...
No, it really... That's the one thing about the classical guitar. It's if you want something that's like an efficient use of your time, this is really not it.
Yeah. Right.
Because it's just hours of breaking those finger connections and getting them. Because I'm having trouble learning how to make my left hand move independently right now. Right, to learn to play frets or play on the frets. I can't make. They don't want to work with me, and so having to do both of them independently on both hands. My mind doesn't really make that connection. I can't understand it.
I think it's actually easier to learn with a pick first.
Really?
And then kind of get into finger picking once you kind of have your left hand down a little bit. Right. Because it's just a more complicated procedure of, like if you were to have a few drinks and pick up a guitar with a pick, you could it's pretty easy because it's kind of like easier to hit the strings. The finger picking is kind of a more complex motion, and you kind of have to involve a lot of different muscles in it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and
I think that's what you have to do.
That's what I think I'm doing.
That's what I think I'm doing at the end, and pretty much everything I say is what I think I'm doing.
That's fair. That's fair.
How did you get into classical guitar in the first place? I think a lot of kids, when they get into music, most of my friends at least pick up an electric guitar because they want to be rock gods. Like, what drove you this direction? And how long? You said 14 years. So how old were you when you started playing?
12. So
okay.
If my math is good, I'm 28 now. So maybe it's closer to 16.
Okay.
But anyway, so I started playing the classical actually when I was 18. So I played electric. I played.
Okay.
I was a really big heavy metal guy when I started actually, and I had like a big Metallica obsession, and I got really into the shredder stuff, Steve Vai and various others that aren't coming to mind right now. And
Steve Vai is a good example.
Yeah. And so I went to college, and then really I always hated school, and I was like, well, I've got to pick some kind of thing to be a major in. So the only thing they had guitar-wise was classical guitar, and I had never really played much classical. And but what I had played was some electric guitar transcriptions of some Bach stuff.
Yeah.
So
as a metalhead might.
Yeah.
Do.
Or the Paganini, the Fifth Caprice.
Yeah.
I think there's a few guys that have done that one.
Yeah.
So it's metal's
there's a lot of weird
there's
a lot of
the
weird
gateway
bridges
drug
between the metal
music.
and classical
exactly
worlds.
Yeah, there really is. And because
lots of arpeggios.
Yeah.
Well, just a lot of notes
harmonics.
in general too. They're playing a lot of music. It's a lot of sound packed.
Yeah.
What scales are used mostly? Because I know that there's Mixolydian and Dorian and all those sexy scales, but it's really specific when it comes to those kind of genres of the scales they're using.
So if you're talking the Baroque era or the classical era, and the Baroque is from, and these are the official academic terms on here.
Right.
The Baroque is from 1600 to 1750, and then I think the classical is from 1750 to 1820 or something like that. And so that period is pretty strict on using that standard harmony,
Right.
So you wouldn't really hear you'd never hear that in a classical piece. The musicians of that day didn't even have that sort of concept.
Right.
They want to hear things. Which are really voice-led very nicely, and kind of all are in that scale. And if you go out, you kind of want to use a pretty standard method of doing it. You don't want to just take
You're either walking down or walking up.
Exactly, and if you're in the key of C major, you're probably either going to the key of G major, or you're going to F major, or you're going to something that's kind of very either one sharp or one flat away from.
Yeah.
Right, not big jumps. You don't want to make big leaps.
Yeah.
That's super interesting.
And
Go ahead. No. You go ahead.
And then as you got into like a little bit later into the 1800s, when you got what they call the Romantic era, you got a little bit more kind of moving around to different harmonic territory, and then long story short, now everything is kind of good to go.
Free game at this point. You can do whatever you want now.
You want to hear a crazy theory that has no substantiation?
Tell me.
This is Aaron's forte, right here, by the way.
All right. So I think that European classical music is, out of all the other cultures in the world, like the most formalized.
Formulaic?
No, like formal and traditional. And like you were saying, over the course of centuries, you could pick them out, and you're like, oh, it's almost like they're in the same generation, which to our heads is insane.
Yeah.
Like you would never grow up and being like, yeah, the music I listen to is the exact same of 200 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think the reason was because Europe, for whatever reason, they developed written music and heavily used it. And for whatever reason, I kind of think it locked in
definitely
the way of thinking for the longest time. Until, there are plenty of other cultures too, because they had like Romani music, and any of the like Hasidic Jews and Ashkenazis. But it never bled into it,
Yeah.
And they always kept it very separate, which in today's musical landscape is like, unheard of. Everyone likes to mix, and they love fusion, and it's getting to the point where world music might eventually get to a point where it's like you can't really.
Not even world music.
It's like saying where does
music.
pink and red start?
Yeah. Yeah.
But for whatever reason, that for the longest time, there's just very sharp walls between everybody. It's like a distinctiveness.
And one thing I think that probably really added to that is that the issue of patronage. People have got to make money from some location. And generally, before like the 1800s, the idea of like kind of a musician that we'd go and see was not really like as much of a thing. If you were generally like the king's musician, or you were like the church's musician.
Yeah.
So you'd be making music to please them, and they'd essentially be paying you. Like, a lot of them were like court composers.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever seen the movie Amadeus, but they talk a little bit about like the court composer, who's just the guy that does the music there, and it wasn't until a little bit later on that music actually, or that type of music became more for like people.
Yeah. I've always found it super interesting that when it did become the music for the people, like what we hear is classical music. My history with classical music was like my grandparents listened to classical music in the car. They listened to the classical station.
Yeah.
When we ride around, that was the only exposure to it in like some music class. And as I got older, I've read some things and seen some things about how like when these really famous, powerful, well-known composers would throw concerts, it would be like a rowdy event. Like they would have to control the crowds because people would stand up in their seats and throw things and stuff at a classical concert. Because at the time it wasn't classical music; it was
exactly
music.
It was just music.
But that blows my mind that like somebody would listen to Mozart and just be having like spinning in the aisles doing circles. It's just crazy.
So basically, what you're saying is that Mozart back in the day was bass nectar.
Pretty much same exact thing. They're both
More or
doing the
less.
same thing. Yeah, people were partying to classical string music, dude. It's litty.
I mean, there's there's a lot of lively classical music.
Yeah.
A lot of it, I think, gets relegated to kind of like the easy listening category, and there's a lot of really like aggressive or rousing tunes, as they say.
Is there still? I mean, this is a stupid question. I know there still is. Who's making like really that style of music? What is the term classical? Do you call it classical music still, even if people are making it in the contemporary?
Yeah.
I think you do as a genre term.
Okay.
But like, it's you kind of just make the music, and it's just I think that. As a person who makes a lot of music in different genres and a lot of time, I think that genres are not actually as real of a thing for the actual music itself.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we were talking about the language of music. It's like different sort of dialects of the same language. You know, so you might know in American music that, you know, you're going to have certain tendencies. Like, you may play like a flat 5 and more pentatonics. And, like, you wouldn't really use, like... So if you're playing in a minor key and you wanted to have a classical sound, you'd probably raise the 7th degree of the scale. So, like, a G minor, and then a D7, and then a G minor. So that would be, like, kind of your minor cadence. But in an American sort of style, you may hear something that's more like a G minor to like a D minor.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of like that flat 7th in the and I know I'm speaking in a little bit in you know, theoretical musical terms.
No,
but
it's good.
We all understand Magellan, so
Yeah, literally
yeah.
everyone in this room can read music except for me.
Yeah.
So it's still interesting to me just even to hear it.
I think kind of what you're hinting at is that when the music is being made, no one sits down and is like,
Yeah.
I'm going to write a classical song right now. Someone sits down and they say, I'm going to write a song, and whatever they want, you know, subconsciously is going to happen.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, when someone listens to it, they say, oh, this sounds like this or like that. And then it gets genre.
Genreified.
Genre.
Genres are for consumers, for sure. Like,
Yeah.
it's for people to, so when they go
Especially now.
They
Yeah.
arise on internet forums, and you know,
Spotify can't make you a perfect playlist without the algorithm, and they need the genres for the algorithm, man.
yeah, the infinite hyphens of subgenres
It's crazy.
are hilarious. Especially like for my favorite is metal music has a real problem.
No, it really
of
does.
becoming just an infinite fractal of subgenres where everyone's trying to put their band in a new little category.
Just because a band has a different style, it doesn't mean that it's
we
a
got
full
new
different
pedals,
genre.
so we add another part to the hyphen.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love shoegazer. That's
Oh,
like
yeah,
a new
yeah.
genre now. And I don't even know what it means. I know what it sounds like, but I don't know what it means.
I always thought the Viking Corps was a funny group of...
Yeah.
That's just weird as fuck. I like stoner metal. I mean,
This is a weird
Don't know, that's great.
diversion from this conversation, but I don't know if you get on Reddit at all. I don't know if you spend any time on Reddit, but I sort Reddit by new, which means I see all the trash that just random people put on the internet and judge them for it. But someone
Unfiltered.
unfiltered, just internet, you know, right in your face.
Right.
And some
Like a
guy
Sims.
asked, his question to the board was, "What do you guys think about Dave Matthews Band?" And someone answered, it was like, not my cup of tea musically. I prefer Scandinavian metal. It's like, what are we doing here, guys? Do you have nothing better to do on the internet? I don't know. That was my story. It's a good one. Right?
I think he doesn't have anything better to do. I mean, you know, when the Scandinavian metal gets old, you gotta write something.
Listen to some
But-
Dave Matthews Band, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't
Now,
know.
on the same time, I still think that genres are necessary.
Oh yeah,
And-
it's very true.
It's useful.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, it's one of those categories where there's wibbly wobbly to it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. It's like there's no stopping point. Anything could be in anything, but for whatever reason, there's like enough overlap over these weird, subjective, and mostly arbitrary things that we have organized in our heads, and we're like, all right, everything that's like this,
Yep.
it's gonna be that,
Yeah.
and then we're all just like, and there's like everything that's that, it's gonna be this,
Natural groupers,
dude. We are.
not the fish. You know, we like to group things.
yeah, it makes things easier for us. We're basically monkeys, guys.
We're monkeys
Yeah.
that put things in boxes. in our
Yeah,
heads.
and we figured out how to use our thumbs real good. It was
I mean,
good work.
If you ever really think about how, like, if you were an alien, they would probably think that Joey's crazy for spending, countless hours and resources on, from their perspective, just a weird box that seems to make noises.
No, man. If an alien made it here, I think he would be pretty cultured.
We don't
Well,
know.
are
If
you-
they,
are
we
you
don't
guys-
know if they're going to have representational.
What if
art.
they can't? Yeah, it's gonna.
Are you
heavily
guys
depend-
familiar with the Voyager spacecraft? It's the only man-made object to leave the solar
Is it
system,
the
and
Fifth Symphony that's on it?
I forget exactly. I know the Brandenburg Concerto by Bach is on there, and then there's
Okay.
a few other. There's a whole bunch of other stuff on this like golden record,
Right.
Yep.
and it also pinpoints our location via 5 or 6
So dumb.
various.
Just giving it away.
My favorite part is that they put it on a record, though.
I know. I mean, it's like. You
What if they
got to
look at it
catch
like-
them at like a 10-year technological window.
Well, I mean, from if you think about it, it's the most simplified way to listen to Like, all you have to do is find something to run through those grooves. If you send them an MP3, they might not have the technology.
No, for sure. They just have to know. They would have to make that. They'd have to figure that out. But I guess if they're traveling...
I was going to say, if they're traveling through galaxies...
They can probably handle a record player.
They can probably handle a record player.
Might be super useful to them.
Yeah.
Too.
They could be a very musical group.
Yeah,
they could. I would like
hear
to think
you playing a box with sounds coming out of it and be like, "Holy shit! This is how we're gonna power our next spacecraft."
Yeah.
We just hire like 7,000 of these dudes and they play instruments and row it like a giant fucking space boat. That would be sick.
Apparently, on the current International Space Station, I believe there are guitars on board.
Just in case.
Oh, I mean, you're spending,
you gotta do something.
How much money would it cost to ship those guitars into space?
At least like 50,000.
At least. But yeah, I guess
although you gotta be, get it when you're going up there.
You gotta make sure you take the strings off before you go through the atmosphere, else it'll crack the neck.
Yeah. Loosen.
Yeah, at least loosen them. Yeah.
I always wonder if you were to go to like the moon and break out your guitar, if it would sound the same, or if like. Because sound is kind of an effect of vibrations through the air.
Yeah.
So what would it sound like if you were to go...
You probably wouldn't even hear it.
Well, are we talking about on the moon? Because it's a vacuum, so I don't think sound travels. I don't think you'd hear it. Well, you might feel it.
He's in the pod, right? And him and all his astronaut buddies are like sitting in the pod, and he busts out his guitar.
It's boring. You want to get some music on.
Yeah, the other two guys roll their eyes because it's been 2 days in and they've seen this already.
Yeah.
But they're like, all right, here we go again. And then he starts playing Wonderwall.
Yeah.
I think it would probably sound different because the gravity is different on the moon.
I really
that has to change the air somewhat.
I want to figure out how to... I mean, has anyone developed some underwater speakers yet? So, like, I can put speakers in my pool, and when I'm swimming underwater...
Sure.
Oh, they got them,
They got them? Okay.
You just got to be richer.
Yeah.
You got to get that money, dude.
Yeah, I can't afford
some
$100. You need a pool first to put your pool speakers.
It's not that expensive, to be honest. When I was like 12, I got a pair for Christmas or something, and they were like $20.
You can hear it underwater.
The cost is secondary to the pool.
Right. Yeah, definitely gonna have to get the pool first. We got totally sidetracked earlier because what I was trying to ask when I got hung up on, like, is it called classical music? But who's are there contemporary composers that you think are crushing it right now? Like, who's killing the contemporary classical game, dog?
It
seems like an oxymoron.
Yeah, I know. That's why I got all hung up and had to ask earlier.
Yeah.
I know it.
No.
There definitely are some, and I'll tell you, this is an area of weakness for me. I don't follow it as much. I do music a lot as like work.
Yeah.
And now, dare I say, work is kind of, you use the term to kind of act like you're doing something. You're doing something, but you're not exactly like digging a ditch.
Right.
You're getting paid to do it, though. That's work.
Exactly. You get paid more because you're good at it, not because you're working hard.
And because you have to, right?
Yeah,
I think that's what work really denotes. Is this wasn't my idea anymore?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like, you may spend so much time like playing out and stuff like that, doing all the music for. So, I tend not to actually like seek out music all that often because it's always just brought to me. So I don't need to actually like. And so if I'm not playing music, I may just do something else entirely.
Right.
Just to clear my mind.
To not be keeping.
Yeah, the guy who's digging the ditch doesn't go and dig holes for fun.
That makes sense.
Exactly. You kind of do something else. I'll hang out with Amy, my wife, or hang out with the little animals. Go for a hike or something. Kind of just. I'm not a big TV watcher, so I like documentaries.
Yeah,
but.
I remember like the first time we hung out, we went back to me and my girlfriend went back to y'all's place after, and we were like, you want to watch the Cosmos? And I was like, fuck yeah, I want to watch the Cosmos. We were drunk. We just turned the Cosmos on. I assume both of us have seen it a bunch before, but...
I think watching TV is the wrong term because there's so much shit that's out there. If you find something that's good, I wouldn't really classify it as television. It's just pure entertainment because it's done really well.
I agree.
People put a lot of time and effort into specific shows, like
but you're literally watching the television.
Yeah, you are, but you know what I'm saying. It's like there's a bullshit like Big Bang Theory that's out there, and people enjoy that because it comes on the television when they're
Yeah.
watching it.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
No, and I totally. I mean, like, television is one of the great areas of works of art. In our modern society, like television, movies. I mean, the people that are putting those together are like the top. And like
Harvey Weinstein, dude.
Oh my God.
Made some
Hey.
great films.
Oh
Well,
my
you know.
God.
Sorry, Dylan. I know
This
I
is
easily
not-
offended you.
You guys are so alt-right.
Well,
Uh,
Mr. Weinstein, he's made some questionable choices.
Yeah, to say the least.
Let's not get into it.
Let's not. So
How
I'm.
about a nice chord to get us back to it?
Yeah, smooth things over.
Yeah, I did throw a pop
I
fire.
was, so
real
you've been
quick.
playing out a lot. What do you think about having lived here for several years now? What do you think about the music scene in Nashville? I think that globally it gets a weird rep, but what do you think having been here? And I want honest opinions because I know you play on Broadway quite a bit. So what do you think about Nashville as a music town?
I think the scene is great.
Yeah.
It's one of the few places like coming here from another place, like everybody you meet is like really good.
Yeah.
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 It's like you very rarely come across somebody that's like they're like, oh yeah, I play, and then they, and especially somebody that's like actually out saying like, oh, I'm a guitarist. Not like some random guy that comes up to the stage and is like, oh, can I sing one?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the biggest like difference. And I think the other thing is that like because Nashville is such a tourist place, you've got such an amount of people that are actually, it's like the road comes to you.
Yeah, that people
100%.
want to go see music when they
Yeah.
come here, even if they don't really know what they're looking for.
Yeah, they pay a lot of money to get a hotel and go downtown and shell out cash for.
Has anyone
For
ever?
sure.
What's the worst thing you've seen though playing a show on Broadway? Like the most terrible behavior you've seen.
I get annoyed at when people try to grab the mics.
What? People try to grab.
Oh,
the
they do
mics?
all sorts of shit.
Dude, I've seen terrible shit on Broadway. Just
Yeah.
the drunkest
Yeah.
rednecks you've ever seen on Broadway in Nashville.
Oh, it's so true. And the other thing, this is actually something that happens more at like the classical shows that I play or like in restaurants or stuff. When someone's like checking their Snapchat and it's like an 8-second blurb of just like madness, and then like on like the shitty cell phone speakers,
Oh.
and then like another like, and then
in a room where it's silent
Yeah.
except for you playing guitar.
Yeah, and it's not that I care that they're on their phone, but like it kind of like messes up my rhythm when I hear like some noise go off.
Yeah,
but that I'm
absolutely.
not expecting to hear.
Yeah.
Right.
That's terrible.
I think.
And
Go ahead. Sorry.
well, people are. I would assume that the people that are there would rather listen to the guitar than this kind of.
Yeah.
I think that noises that come out of cell phones are only good if you're actually looking at that image and associating that image with the sound. If you're somebody else, it's kind of like on the periphery of this situation.
Yeah.
It's just like a blast of like nonsense.
Yeah, and it's only usually like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
So you come in like in the middle of a
Yeah.
word, and it ends in the middle of a word.
And
Yeah.
is it really that important? Like,
Yeah.
That you gotta know what so and so is doing
Yeah,
right now.
I usually just try to give them a subtle, dirty look.
Yeah.
Wow, you,
Can you
play,
give
you
us your
stop your
best-
guitar face and
Since we have the camera rolling, can you give us your best dirty look at the camera?
Beautiful.
So
Going back to the musicians in Nashville and all the different kinds of stuff they do.
Yeah,
Something I've noticed recently is, I guess it's not recently, but people are really good at a bunch of different things. Like, there's someone who has no idea how to read music,
yeah.
but they can fucking crush it on drums, or somebody who can produce a specific kind of music that would fit perfectly with whatever a good guitar player would find fit, you know? So I think the culmination of a bunch of different people doing different things in Nashville is so useful because they can come together and experiment and create new ideas out of it
Yeah,
and just expand beyond what they would normally do, because there's so many people out there that are interested in like I don't know, just different shit, I guess, like lo-fi. Like we don't like lo-fi, I wouldn't say. I mean, everybody likes lo-fi in a sense, but I think we just gravitate towards it because it's super easy to make, and it's kind of the style we are comfortable in. But like you doing classical and coming out here,
well, it's hard. You could say whatever the hell you want it to be.
Yeah, exactly. So it's cool seeing the different types of backgrounds people have coming together and creating music out of what they know, but not classifying it as a specific thing because it's just music at that point.
And I totally agree. And I think it's a really cool thing that there's, because you've got this kind of center of music, not only, the gigs that you've got in town, but it's also kind of a center for, like road gigs, like
Yes.
a lot of guys live here, but they mostly tour around. So you've just got such a concentration of talent.
Not to mention, people come here just to record. Like, if you get a record deal, and you'll come here just to get studio space.
Yeah.
And the songwriting
That's work for
camps.
you.
Yeah,
right?
it's very true. I mean, it's like, if you could say, we got the studio in Nashville or something like that. It's like almost a half of a business card.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm a guitarist, session guitarist in Nashville. It's like, oh, this guy must actually be pretty good.
It means you at least you can play a couple chords and navigate
and show up on time.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Showing up on time and not being a douchebag.
Yeah, I feel like that's. That's an
like
important part of any business, but in the music industry for sure. Even if you're not a douchebag or you just can't like get along with people, I don't know.
Yeah.
You have to. It's on a scale, right? Like, if you want to be a douchebag, you better be really fucking good.
Exactly.
Like, if you're not really, 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 really fucking good, you better be nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? But, like, there's certain people who can transcend that and are allowed to act however the fuck they want to act because they're good enough at music.
Dude. Killer Mike comes in the studio.
He can do whatever he wants to.
Whatever, man. You hate the chords I'm playing? Okay.
I recently watched the Fire Festival documentary
Dude.
with Ja Rule.
Did you watch the one on Hulu
He seemed like
or
a
Netflix?
guy who's not the most forward-thinking fella.
Nah.
Which one did you
Yeah,
watch?
dude.
Oh, I think it was the one on Netflix. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, funny thing about that, the one on Netflix was produced by the Fuck Jerry production team, who were actually involved in the Firefest on promotion and marketing.
Really?
So it's a little bit skewed. If you watch the
Oh,
Hulu
yeah?
one, if you watch the one on Hulu, they actually interview what's his name?
Douche Canoe. I don't know his real
The
name.
guy-
the dude, the dude.
entrepreneur
The
that was
dude.
behind it.
The entrepreneur of the year.
I don't know why he agreed to that interview because they were asking him questions and he would just go like he didn't know how to answer them.
Super awkward.
Kind of
shit.
hard to watch. But
When positive energy fails.
yeah, exactly.
That was a crazy ass.
When booze isn't the best business plan.
Right. Yeah,
They
was just drunk
ordered
the whole
$2 million worth of alcohol.
It's a good
$2
amount
million
of drinks.
And I think that the alcohol, like, because of the tax where they were doing it, they had to pay like $500,000 worth of tax money just on booze.
Oh yeah, sure.
Jesus Christ. Well, that's what they said once people got there. They just started throwing alcohol at everybody.
Right.
They were like, oh, everyone calm down, have a drink.
Yeah.
That's so
Which,
wild.
in their defense, most music festivals usually would probably be the right move. Is throw
Oh,
drugs
yeah.
in your audience.
If the rest of the infrastructure's there.
Yeah.
Hey man, if I got down there, I'd at least want a beer.
Yeah. There's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
If I don't have a tent, I better have a beer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very
No
least.
one-
If I
no
don't
one's
have
gonna
a
care if
10,
the
I'm going to
food's
need at
bad
least
if
12
everyone's lit.
beers so
Yeah.
I can get to
Yeah.
sleep on the ground.
Let's see here. I got more stupid questions.
Yeah, let's hear more stupid questions.
You guys want
Well, there are no stupid questions, just stupid people.
Well, Dylan has stupid questions because he's a stupid person.
I'm a stupid people.
Sorry, I've told you I wouldn't be mean
No,
on
it's
the
okay,
podcast.
dude. I think it's our thing now. It's the shtick now. We have to roll with it. I was going to ask if you, and I said they're stupid, if you could have a meal, because I know you like to cook a lot.
Oh yeah, big time food fan.
Right, big time food fan. He plays music, makes food. But if you could make a meal with any living or dead musician, who would it be, and what would you make?
Well,
that's a tough one, man.
Yeah, it is. I probably should have put it to you before, but now you're on the spot. So
I'd say this: I'd rather than cooking with them, I'd rather cook it and then have the meal with them, because oftentimes when you're cooking, you're kind of focused on not cutting your finger, not burning the food. So I'd rather actually be able to talk to. But I'm a huge fan of Johann Sebastian Bach.
Right.
He's probably my biggest musical kind of inspiration. And
see, the problem is Dylan's kind of like one of those malicious genies.
Yeah.
So he would give you, but you don't speak German, so you would just.
Oh yeah.
So he'd be cooking, and then he'd just be sitting. Well, he'd probably be screaming. Because a time portal just ripped him out.
Yeah,
of
He just turned a knob and all of a sudden it's hot.
all
and
right.
he's
So
like,
I'll say it again. And I'll ask for two people. I'll ask for Johann Sebastian Bach and a German translator.
Now you're understanding.
Yeah. Now we're thinking.
I'm just trying to look out for
and
you.
and I appreciate that you really approach that from the analytical perspective of saying that and we need a specialist. Because really, probably the German from 300 years ago is going to be hard to...
Man, that's very true, yeah.
You guys, I'm not that malicious of a genie, because I wouldn't have ever thought of that. So thanks for clearing that up.
Do you ever think about what the younger version of yourself would think? Like you said, you were into Metallica and metal, and then you go to college and you get into classical guitar, and now your favorite musician is Johann Sebastian Bach. Do you ever think about what like your 15-year-old self would say to you now? And you're like, hey, man, listen to this, and... You know what I mean?
Probably be a little surprised.
Yeah.
I think I was probably a little bit, I've always been a relatively laid-back guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I really love the musical aspect of metal, but I was never into the scene.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I kind of agree with yeah, I was like that with it as well.
And yeah, it's like you go to a concert and like the tallest metalhead... sweatiest dude is in the front of you, right in front of you, like sweating, smells like shit, and like it's just like a very violent experience. Yeah, and like not that I like that goes with the music. It's good that that's the scene for it, but it's not my my thing.
Right, so you found the middle ground, right? You're like, no one's moshing, and I get to do really crazy finger picking. I'm in.
Yeah,
that's where
honestly,
I need to be.
Yeah, and I'll say I don't mind if the people are moshing out there and doing it while I'm playing guitar and on kind of a separate raised platform.
As long as no one jumps on stage and punches you in the face.
Yeah. I tried stage diving once, and I found it to be a rather, it was
invasive.
Yeah.
You get people touching you in places you don't really want them to touch.
And you're putting a lot of trust in people that you're not sure.
Some of my favorite YouTube videos are people trying to stage dive and no one catches them,
Yeah. See, it's like, hey, here I go. Hopefully you guys are ready.
Yeah, it's literally a trust fall. You stick your arms out. Me and Will, I think you were at the show with me one time.
You stick your arms out so there's more chance of someone catching you.
Yeah, or at least slowing you down.
Yeah.
We went to a concert at this bar in Knoxville called Press Pub. I think you were there. This band called Opposite Box playing. They had a tuba player at the time.
Let me set this up a little bit better. This is a small, like, the dancing area for Press Pub in Knoxville is not a whole lot bigger than the room we're in right now.
It's not big. It's probably...
No, it wasn't Opposite Box. It was... Crumb Snatchers.
Was he playing? No, he was playing with Opposite Box. It was Opposite Box.
Okay.
Anyway, he's playing with this band Opposite Box. They have this dude from Memphis. He goes by Eclectic Tuba. He's a tuba player, and he plays with all these effect pedals and stuff.
Oh, very nice.
It's really bizarre, really weird, cool music. But he was touring with this band for a little while. Ended up touring with Andy Frasco eventually, too. But we were at this show, and there's probably 20 people at the show. But Press Pub gets kind of crazy and wild, and this band that
especially
was playing,
when the tuba comes out.
Exactly. And this band is wild, and they were like, he's crowd surfed at every show that we've played on this tour, so we're gonna have to have him crowd surf again. And like 10 brave souls go up and hold this dude up. Like, it was an exact mirror of his body shape in humans holding him up. So it's, and I was a part of it for whatever reason. It was awful. Like, that's not what stage diving is for. If there's not enough people, you can't do it. We're holding up this 300-pound man who also has a tuba, just straining under his weight. No one's having fun anymore because the whole concert is trying to hold this guy up. It's the most absurd thing I've ever been a part of.
Oh, man.
Moral of the story, don't stage dive unless it seems like it's a for sure good idea.
Leave your tuba on the stage.
Yeah, but then he couldn't have played tuba while he was
Oh,
stage
that's true.
diving.
That's true.
But it was an interesting story. Hate it when I do that. That's a story, guys.
And,
Well,
And
and
that's
then
my
he pulled
story.
his pants up.
Yeah.
I've got another question along the vein of if you could,
Okay.
that Dylan posed earlier. Working as a session musician, you play live on Broadway. What is your dream music industry job as a guitar player? Like, would you prefer to work in the studio with, famous musicians? Would you prefer to tour? Would you, like, what's your...
I guess I'd probably be like a solo classical guitarist playing, doing a bit of touring, and then doing composing as well for in kind of a larger scale. That's kind of my other thing. I just sort of finished the first draft of my first symphony. So
Wow.
Seriously?
yeah.
How long have you been working on that?
It's 6 years, but on and off. So like, I kind of started, and then I'd work on it a little bit here and there, and finally kind of came to the conclusion of that. And so kind of that sort of thing. I really, I love playing shows. I love playing live, and I like playing in the studio as well. But sometimes it's like, not as the studio thing is more work than playing live is.
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
What? So I'm totally curious. When you write your first symphony, like, what is your next step with that to get it performed? Like, what do you need to do now?
It's a good question.
Okay.
But I try to pitch it to some symphonies. I
Okay.
got to kind of give it the next. I've got the first draft pretty much, and I've got to kind of finish it up. But yeah, I think that's the next sort of thing to do with it. If
It's almost like selling a spec script for a movie. Like, you wrote
Yeah,
this
yeah.
thing, and you're like, can you guys play this?
yeah,
This is really good. Can you play it for me?
What is the process for that? When you submit a symphony like that, do they run it? Do they run it through something where they can hear it?
So
or-
usually, it would be more or less my. So I write most of it on a program called Finale,
right?
and it's got a decent playback. And
Okay.
if I kind of mix it down and make sure it's kind of pan right and everything, and add a little bit of reverb, it gets the job done in terms
Okay.
of like a mock-up.
It's like a storyboard.
Yeah.
Showing.
Is finale? Are you like actually
Yes.
plucking notes in on the
Yeah.
staff?
This is like notes on the staff. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And that's how I write everything. I find that just the easiest way to like organize my thoughts.
Right.
That's super cool.
Sure.
God, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, it's so tight.
know.
This is all really. It's
too,
cool because
man.
this is foreign. Like, even these two that are pretty serious musicians themselves. Like, this is a completely new world for you guys. I feel like that you haven't had a ton of
Yeah, dude.
interaction with.
I could not
Yeah,
do
I
that.
can do number charts, but on a staff it would take me like if you put a sheet of staff music in front of me, it would probably take me an hour to like, all right, like I'm counting up the staff.
Yeah,
I'm like that's
yeah.
an A and then okay, yeah.
It actually is like a really beneficial thing to, especially like guitar playing because I only say that because most other musicians can read music.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this: I grew up learning how to play on the clarinet.
Yeah.
And the thing that is so different that I always try and tell guitar players compared to like learning how to read on a horn
Mhm.
is that note will always be the exact same note and it'll never change.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
never have to tune it, and there's never alternate. There is on some horns alternate fingerings, but that's like at most 4 or 5 things you have to keep in the back of your head.
It's
It
usually
is
like
so
you're
much
doing.
different
Yeah.
when you're trying to do like guitar music reading is basically magic to me.
Yeah, and if you've ever seen like classical guitar music written, it's all on one staff. So you've got like generally a lot of stuff going on, and it uses a lot of ledger lines, which are like the extra lines you use to get. So if you were to play a low E, this would be 3 ledger lines below the staff,
Right.
and then it would be the space that's kind of below that third ledger line, and then this one, the high E, would be 3 ledger lines above the staff.
It's crazy.
And so it pretty much occupies like more or less the range of the human voice. So like, oh, that's probably about where the male voice goes to, and then and kind of up into there would be the female voice. So it kind of, that's why it kind of gets a nice mid-rangey sound, because it kind of covers the whole vocal range of the human.
That's so cool. I don't think anybody's ever explained it to me like that. That's tight.
Yeah.
Damn, son.
Damn.
Hey, I need a moment. Do you guys need a moment? You want to take a quick
Yeah,
break?
let's take a moment.
Sure. Where are we at on time?
We're on time.
We're on time?
We're on time.
Right on time. We'll be right back, guys. Joey, do you have a song of yours that you'd like us to play during this quick break?
Oh, yeah. Let's plug. What's the name of your album? The Songs of the Guitar?
Yeah.
Songs of the
Spotify?
Guitar.
Yeah, we could play that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put it in. We'll put it in.
Do you have a
post.
do you have a track
song
that
you
you're
like?
specifically proud of on
Right
that
before
album?
the break, I think where you said like the head down, ass up was like the last song you put
Yeah,
out.
it was a and the inspiration for the song you'd never guess where it came from. Why don't we play something a little shreddy? There's a piece called Allegro Con Fuoco,
Okay.
which is kind of translates in musical terms more or less to quickly with like, I guess, fire. I think
With
is
gumption.
Yeah, with some gusto.
What's it
And,
called?
Allegro Con Fuoco. And a lot of times classical music is kind of more or less named after, like, you might kind of name the tempo and then use that as the name for the piece.
Well, perfect. We'll let you guys hear that, and we'll be right back.
All right.
Joe.
Hey, you just heard a song that I still don't know how to pronounce by Joey Grimaldi off his album on Spotify called "Song of the Guitar." Hey Joey, what's that song called?
Oh, wait. Let me give it a shot.
Let him give it a whirl.
Allegro, Confucius.
Boo.
Confucius says, "Shut the fuck up."
I thought of that 10 minutes ago. I thought it'd be
Con
funny.
Fuoco.
Con Fuoco. It's Allegro Con Fuoco.
Which, you know, oftentimes in like the that style, you know, really what it is I'm bad at coming up with names for pieces.
Right.
So I write this whole piece and I've got it down and then I think, well, what the hell am I going to call it? And so I just take like the standard sort of classical term of naming a piece, which is, you know, to just use like the tempo mark more or less. And Allegro means, you know, generally like between like
Fast.
Yeah, fast. And you're thinking like, you know, 110 to 140 maybe about that in terms of BPM.
Right.
And that one I believe is about 142. And the Con Fuoco is to signify just a little bit extra.
Just a little
Agitation.
Wow.
That's right. That's
the chef in you. That's
Yeah,
the cook in
yeah.
Joey,
Fast-
the little extra
fast
panache.
agitation.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you can imagine if you wanted somebody to play it, to give them the marking that would incite to them, like, how to do it.
Yeah. And also, if you're a listener, like what to expect from it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you that I think there's something to be said for the practicality of that, of just naming a song kind of what it is.
Yeah.
Like, this is gonna be a fast song.
Because really, I mean, what is it? You know, it's just a collection of notes. So there's really not like you know, it's a pretty abstract thing.
Yeah, I find it very interesting that you have trouble naming things, but you can compose music like that. Like, that's the way my brain works. I'm really good at naming things that other people created, but I'm not very good at making, like, that's so backwards to me.
Basically, Dylan is the opposite of you.
The
Well,
anti-Joey.
You know, like, I guess I'll get into a little bit of how I wrote it. You know, kind of, like, I start with an idea, and really, when most of the music I write, I try to come up with, like, a little theme. And so, in this case, I you know, kind of for years, I had this thing when I wanted to, like, play, like, a little quick something, I'd do. So it's kind of an arpeggio toward the top, and then I pull off towards the to an open string. So it's, you know, you can play it fast, but it's not as hard to play fast as like some other things. And so I had that little thing, and I thought, oh well, you know, what's kind of a good way to put this into practice? So I started, you know, I heard a piece on the radio, and you know, he kind of did something in that was similar to that, and I just was driving home, and one day I thought, you know what, that sounds like a good little thing to start the piece with. So that's how this kind of thing came about.
Fucking metal, dude.
It's so cool. And so then you just took from there and built off of that.
And then I just kind of have fun with it. You know, I try to think of just like you know, I try to write it as like a musical journey. You know, and just try to see what I could. You know, it's fun writing for the guitar because there's so many limitations to what you can do. You know, in terms of like, you've only got a hand that could only span a certain amount of frets.
Right.
And you've only got a right hand that has, you know, 4 fingers, you know, because your pinky, you don't really use it a lot. It's not...
It's a useless finger as far as fingers go.
Yeah, you only use it for, like, a rasguiato, which is kind of where you...
Is that what that's called?
Yep.
A rasguiato?
Yeah, and, you know, if there's any Spanish listeners, I probably am not doing the name justice. But...
You did better than I did.
Yeah. No, all the different strokes have a name in Spanish on the guitar.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I'm just learning so much today, guys.
What is
Like
that? Have you watched that movie? Is it Coco?
I have.
You like that movie?
Yes.
It was a good movie.
Right,
Yeah, you know, it was,
It's the animated, like, Day of the Dead
Spanish
thing.
guitar, yeah.
Yeah.
God, that movie had guitars in it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
play guitar.
Shut up, Aaron.
It's got the
Shut
guitars
up,
in it.
Aaron.
No,
I'm just trying to put myself in Will's headspace for a second.
You know what? That's
You're right. That was a stupid segue. I'm sorry that I did that. Go on.
Look what
you
you
like
did, Aaron.
fish.
Look
You
what
know that
did.
one movie with the fish that got lost from its dad. You know, it's,
Yeah.
You like fishing? You like Finding Nemo?
Yeah, okay. Fuck me. I get it.
No, hey, bud. Hey, I like what you were trying to do. I think that song is a great segue into us trying to make a song. And I think having him talk about his process a little bit is a good way for us to start working into maybe what our process or, our idea of a process might look like. So,
Can we get some of that Allegro for this track?
what we were talking about, yeah.
yeah, sure.
we want to
could,
have him play, and you guys like record it and build around it, or do you want to try to jam with him, or how do you want to do it?
I think we should just open up, record the three of us. I'll do drums.
yeah,
you
yeah.
do some
I think
keys.
a live jam would be probably the.
Okay.
the way to go for sure.
Let's do
Let's
it.
do it.
And me and Aaron will make faces at each other.
Okay, here's an idea because we have the Instagram live going. What if we muted the mics for a little bit while we jammed and turned the monitors on so they can hear?
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea at all.
Are you guys okay with that?
I'm perfectly fine with
Oh,
that.
play
Me and
some
Aaron
music?
shouldn't talk anyway. Yeah, do that. Let's listen to some music.
Okay, cool.
Hey, sorry if you guys heard that. That was dope, though.
Thank you.
That was
Actually,
very-
the feedback at the end was totally intentional.
yeah, this
Yeah,
man
it
did
gives
that.
it like that metal effect.
Yeah.
Right.
Artist, man.
Artistic.
What you didn't see was me shaking my guitar in front of the speakers and microphone and other shit over here.
He was still just trying to get the pick out.
He
from
was trying to
inside.
set
Yeah.
it on fire, but I
Yeah.
grabbed the lighter fluid out of his hand right at the last second.
Thank God. We can't afford to buy
Thank
another
you for
studio.
stopping my self-destructive behavior.
Yeah.
Oh man, so yeah, good stuff. You guys think that's something for you to work with?
I think we have plenty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
What do you
keep-
think, Ben?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Aaron,
Oh,
what was
yeah.
your favorite part?
That
I-
one time?
I like the one that went like. What's that called? What's the technical term for that? The
The tremolo.
tremolo.
Although I think I may be pronouncing it, it may be something else. It's one of those words I've read a lot, but
Is it
haven't
a
actually heard of it.
Tremolo? Tremolo, or is that something different?
I believe it is. There's an effect on the electric guitar that is by the same name. That's kind of like turns the volume on and off really quickly.
Yeah.
But this is kind of like so if you were to, it's like thumb, ring, middle, index, and you do it really fast, and it's like a technique kind of special to the classical guitar, if you will.
Right. These are trade secrets.
And it's kind of got like a the classical guitar does very low sustain.
Yeah.
That's its big problem as an instrument. So it kind of gives you a little bit more room to like on a classical guitar, the best way to create like dynamic movement, especially to grow louder, is to play really fast, so that you can really control like a crescendo.
Yeah.
But because if you play a note, it's gonna die from the moment you play it. But if you kind of you can give the note a little something from the moment it starts.
Yeah, dude, I bet your cat loves you. I bet your cat gets the best scratches. That ability to just like, I'm just saying, Bach's probably got it pretty good.
Did you ever have a
Yeah.
teacher tell you to put a sock underneath the strings and just practice?
Oh, I have done it a little bit. It gets annoying after a bit, but it actually is a really good practice because it gets you kind of really in tune with like the
Right.
rhythmic.
I always, when I finger pick, I have the bad habit of putting my pinky on the
Oh,
on the
yeah,
basic of the guitar for like stability, and I would just use these fingers.
Yeah.
And I had a
The
teacher.
claw,
I took
baby.
some classical guitar classes, and he told me, keep your hand free. You use that pinky, stick a sock in there, and just watch TV and claw at it. But
I think the
I
best
still
way
put
to.
my pinky down.
Oh,
so.
sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I think the best way to think of it is to imagine that like you've got a ball in your hand, and like
Okay.
that's kind of the position you want to be plucking from, so
Right.
that you're kind of not really, you're not fully extended, but you're not fully out of fist. You're kind of right in the middle, and that way you can really quickly, tense your muscle and get and hit the string.
Right on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to practice.
Yeah, you are. Is this putting it in perspective for you?
And
Oh, I've always
Yeah.
known that I sucked, but it just
You don't
reinforces.
suck,
I think one of the biggest things too that like a lot of, let's say you're a beginner to the finger style thing, you see a lot of people and when they're playing, their hand is kind of like bouncing up and down from the strings, kind of like this thing like on every stroke, and where the playing really comes from is actually the finger. So the wrist and the hand stay totally like
stationary.
stationary, and all the movement comes from this big joint, right in the. Right
Yeah,
in
the joint, the
not
finger
the
joint
big,
region.
yeah, not the other big joint. This big.
No, yeah, that's again, not to keep talking about how I'm trying to learn instruments because it's embarrassing, but That's a big thing I'm trying to work on is like efficiency. So much of it is like not moving as little as you have to produce the desired effect. And I know that's probably playing that fast has to be even more important.
No, it's why if you watch somebody who's really good, it's like you don't gather that much from looking at their hands because there's not that much like visible movement.
Right. It looks like they're just sitting in place.
Yeah, it's like an effortless thing. That's sort of how it's got to be.
I would like to talk about the fingernail aspect of classical playing.
Yes.
I think that is very important.
Everyone got really excited.
Do you coat your fingers with some sort of...
I go to the
adhesive?
salon and I get acrylic nails.
Yeah.
And, one piece of advice I'd give anybody who wants to do it for guitars is you don't want to get, like, the plastic tip put on. You just want to grow your natural nail out and then put the acrylic on that.
Uh-huh.
And that way you get kind of just like a strong reinforced surface. And... because otherwise, you're breaking nails constantly,
that
and it's like...
makes so much sense to me because every time I thought of playing, like someone growing out their nails and playing, it sounded so painful to me because the thought of that and just grinding your nails against a piece of metal string, it just sounds so uncomfortable. But the acrylic makes so much fucking sense.
Yeah.
That extra reinforcement, you have like fucking 5 picks on your hand.
It really does help. And it's like the other thing is that you don't want to be standing at your shows the whole time filing your nails because you got like a little crack that's forming,
right?
And it's like they're usually fine, and then you get one little nick in there and it kind of just like grows. It slowly catches the string each time,
right?
And then it breaks, and then it's like you're trying to play, but your whole system has changed if the nail breaks. So you kind of you get the added benefit of like you can't really make this sound with your fingers without nails. You can't get that sort of crisp and it's a little bit of a different sound than you get with the pick.
It's very different.
Yeah.
It's very different. The pick sounds like it's plastic. I don't know. Like, that's just kind of the sound it makes. It's very different.
And it's good for, part of the reason I use the fingers is so that I could play sort of like multiple things, so I could carry a bass line. If I was to try to do that with a pick, you'd hear a lot of like scraping between strings where I had to mute them, or like you'd hear a lot of the chords come out as rather than
it wouldn't be quite as clean.
Yeah, so there's a lot of good uses for the fingers.
That's crazy.
But it's a lot harder to get them to work together. That's like a big majority of my practice time is to get the right hand working together.
So so what's more important though? And this is, I'm going to make you, if someone is making you make the choice, you get one or the other. You struck up a deal with the devil, right? And he's like, I'm going to make you the best guitar player that's ever lived. However, you can only have the guitar face or the guitar nails. Which one's more important to being the best guitar player that's ever lived?
Well, the nails are an actual practical
I
art.
think that Joey would argue that the face is an actual practical necessity.
Is a practical necessity.
Joey, what do you think?
Because it's not the music; it's how people feel about the music.
The face comes from, an involuntary response to what the fingers
to the nails
and yeah.
Yeah.
So like the fingernails are more essential.
Easy answer. That's a dumb question.
I knew that was going to be the answer.
Yeah.
Sometimes the faces there. They just happen. It's like when you're playing the guitar, you're just kind of thinking through the guitar and making the music, and whatever else happens. It's like when people talk to me while I'm playing sometimes, especially at like a show or something.
Yeah.
And it kind of like I may spit out a word that sounds like half a word and kind of half another one. it's because that part of my brain is occupied at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. You can only do. I mean, that's a high focus activity, right? Playing at that level, it's not something you can really devote. Everything else is shut off. You're breathing and you're playing guitar, and everything else is on the back burner at that point.
And you're in a different world than everyone else. You're so entrenched in the action. That's the great thing about playing guitar. It's one of those few any instrument. It's one of those few fully encompassing activities.
It's called flow. It's a flow state activity.
Yeah,
it's something that you're not thinking you're doing. It's not to get as woo woo as I could possibly get, but that's exactly what it is. The same thing as people who get off on action sports or extreme sports like base jumping and shit like that. So obviously a more extreme example, but it's the same thing. Like you don't have the option to think about anything else because your brain is fully occupied by what you're doing right now.
Yeah, and it's a great. Everybody should have some activity that they do that is in that vein.
I think so too.
And another cool thing about guitar, compared to those other activities, is you won't die doing it.
Yeah.
Hold on. There's some doubt to what you just said because there's been a lot of guitar players.
Well, that's drugs, not guitar playing. They didn't die from playing guitar. They died from heroin.
No, it is true. A musician is a very dangerous occupation, statistically.
Statistically speaking.
But the ones who tend to get through that early period tend to make it a long time.
Yeah, exactly. Once you get past that, 27, I guess, is the year, right?
We live a low-stress lifestyle.
Yeah. I'm jealous of you, man, honestly. You're doing great.
Well, thank you.
I'm proud of you. I just met you, but I'm proud of you.
Yeah. We appreciate you coming on. You guys want to do suggestions and get out of here?
Yeah, let's do that.
Do we have what we need?
We'll be good.
I think
awesome.
so.
I don't think I told Joey what this is, so at the end of every episode...
I love when we spring it on him.
Yeah, you got to figure this out real quick. You got 5.
You'll go last. The guests always go last, so you get to think
So,
about it.
I'll tell you, whenever I go to a session, I always try to have it I just like to listen to the demo and make the chart and then do everything totally out of my mind.
That's a good move.
Especially when you're playing on popular sessions and stuff where it's music like that, everybody involved in it is already so well entrenched in that style. It's good for me to kind of come in from a totally different perspective.
Absolutely. And just do yo thing on it.
Yeah.
Do the Joey thing.
Yeah, and it's what's the worst that can happen?
Exactly. That's a good way to look at it.
What's the worst that could happen? Save that motto. So what we do at the end of the episode is we're going to go around and everybody's going to suggest anything that they're into right now, whether it be Will suggested Hot Sauce the other week, some movie, some song or artist that you're into right now, a book that you read recently that you like, anything you're into. I suggested riding bikes one time. So whatever you're into right now, we're going to go around the circle. Everybody's going to suggest something, and then you're going to plug yourself at the end and anything you have coming up, and then we're going to get out of here.
All right.
Sound good?
Yeah, let me think of what I got coming.
Yeah, you got time. Who wants to go first?
I think we should start with Aaron.
Aaron's usually got the best ones.
We'll go just around the circle.
I'll go with this.
Show and tell.
It's not technically classical, but it's an orchestral piece because you got me thinking about it. But I'd recommend to everyone. It's my favorite one. It's The Planets by Gustav Holst.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
It was written in 1914, so I don't really know what genre it would be classified as. But
I think late romantic, if you want to get.
Yeah, a late romantic. Thanks for clocking it, because I actually had no idea.
It's kind of it's an iffy period, kind of, but that's I would. Yeah.
But yeah, The Planets. It's it's almost like a concept album before there was even such a thing.
Yeah.
And it's each movement represents a different celestial body, and you've probably heard some theme or variation from that piece somewhere because it's so famous. But overall, it's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good listen. So if
yeah,
you got the time, try and sit down and listen to the whole Planet suite. But if you had to pick one in particular, Jupiter. It's really good.
Sick.
I'll second that one.
Nice.
Excelente. Who wants to go next? Because I'm still thinking.
Around.
Oh, it's me now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This one, this isn't anything that nobody's ever heard of, but I think that it speaks to people like me that quit on this show. If you quit on True Detective halfway through season 2 like I did because it was so bad, Give season 3 a shot. So far, it's been absolutely fantastic. I think that it's going to save the series from being canceled because it's a whole lot better than season 2 was. So far, I've liked it better than season 1, I think. So if you were into season 1 of True Detective, go check out season 2. It's been really good. There's 3 episodes out now. New one's going to be out this week.
Tight. For my suggestion,
Yes.
the first one is the Hot Ones episode with Gordon Ramsay.
Oh, damn it, you took mine, dude.
Go check that shit out.
Now I gotta look for something else.
It's worth the watch. He struggles through it, but
He says
He
shit
definitely
about-
throws up.
yeah,
Yeah, he says shit like probably 35 times.
If you're not familiar with Hot Ones, basically people go on this show to eat hot wings according to their
10 questions,
heat
10 wings.
intensity.
Yeah, and they get hotter every wing.
They get really good interviews out of people
Great.
because they're out of their minds high on hot sauce. So you should
Torture.
definitely check it out. It's exactly what it is. It's torture interviews.
Yeah.
Hey, it's great television.
Yeah,
It's good
100%.
YouTubes, dudes.
And you know what? You're not eating the wings.
No, it's a little schadenfreude, right? Like you're having fun because they're in pain.
Yeah,
It didn't
yeah.
hurt me one bit.
Press the electric zap button and enjoy.
You got a number 2?
Yeah, number 2, I was just gonna suggest the Joe Rogan episode with Killer Mike. It's just a good episode.
Dude,
Sorry, Will.
what the fuck?
But it's
Ben and I have been spending too much time together.
You guys are turning into the one being, which is probably good for the podcast as far as y'all's synergy, but I don't know if it's good for the suggestions portion
Yeah, it's fine.
Or their personal lives.
or their personal lives, but
it's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll
They
sort it
will.
out
They'll
on
figure
our own
it out.
time.
All right, well, I'm going to use my suggestion to plug ourselves. If you're at this point in the episode, if you listen this far, if you're watching, I don't think anyone's watching on Instagram Live, but whatever. Like us on Apple Podcasts or whatever you're
Subscribe.
listening on. Subscribe to it. Give it 5 stars. Give us some sort of internet feedback because it takes you like 5 seconds and it gives us so much. It benefits us so much.
it's a really nice thing you can do for us without giving us any money. So
Yeah.
if you just click that button, click 5 stars, we hate to whore ourselves out like that, but it would be big for us and we'd love you forever. And we'll love you forever anyway, but we'd love you just a little bit more.
That's right. All right.
That's enough
Joey,
of that.
what you got?
Joey, we got what's cool?
Well, you know, like I said, my other kind of thing I really enjoy is food, and I really enjoy a cooking show by a guy named Jacques Pepin. You know, I'm sure you probably, if you know food, you've heard of him, but he's
Yeah.
got one particular show called Fast Food My Way,
Okay.
in which he shows you a lot of, you know, very effective recipes to make in a short period of time, but that are actually, you know, really well cooked recipes, you know, and it's kind of a full, you know, you're actually making good food out of the deal, and you know, it's important for everybody to eat good food.
That sounds amazing.
That's fantastic.
I'm definitely gonna check that out because
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with cooking shows right now.
Oh, nice.
So
Have you seen Binging with Babish yet?
I have not. No.
Ooh, it's on YouTube. You should check it out. He does stuff from TV, but he's done like a basic show now.
Yeah.
Really, really cool dude. Really, really good chef. You should check that out as well. If you
Oh,
like
very
cooking
nice.
shows
Very
on
nice.
YouTube.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know, there's such a good way to learn how to cook.
I
And,
was gonna. I want to actually say this too. If you ever want to come back, please come back because I'm very disappointed. I wanted to talk to you about food more because I know how much you like to cook and how much you know about food. So we'll have to save that for next time. If you
All
ever want
right.
to come back, we'll definitely talk about.
And
that a
I'll
little
also,
bit
you
more.
know, I'll certainly be hungry between now and then, so I'll have some ideas.
Absolutely, dude.
Thanks for
Wonderful.
coming, Joey, man. It's been a
Well,
pleasure.
thank you.
It's been an absolute blast. Thank you for sitting down with us. Thank you for sharing that guitar with us. Thank you guys for listening. We will be back in a week. Don't go nowhere. We'll talk to you real soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Podcast.